My name is Michelle Boyle. I am a union nurse. Under the best of conditions, in our 12-hour shift, we deal with people who are in physical crisis and highly stressed. That is under the best of conditions. In our current short staffing crisis, every time I go to work, it's the same questions running through my mind. Will I be able to provide the care to my patients that I want to give? The care that my patients deserve? And the ever-present looming worst nightmare is always that I won't be able to get to my patient in time. A burden that I will carry for the rest of my life. Nurses and other healthcare workers are quitting exactly because of this reason. Our working conditions have moved from stressful to traumatizing and unsafe. Our Mayor Ed Gainey chose to listen to frontline workers and requested a survey. In that survey, 93% of healthcare workers said they are thinking of leaving their job. 93%. Listening to frontline healthcare workers and their solutions didn't stop there. On September 26, Summer Lee held an intergovernmental panel of our local elected leaders with Sarah Innamorato, Lindsay Williams, Jessica Benham, Bethany Hallam, Erica Strasburger, and Corey O'Connor to hear what is wrong in this short staffing crisis and what needs to be done to fix it. They listened to us. The frontline healthcare and essential workers. The testimony was heartbreaking. Workers are being forced to provide healthcare within a truly broken and dangerous and greedy system that prioritizes profits over patients. The health industry lobbyists and their pet representatives have been writing the rules for far too long. We pay the most in the world for our health care and have the worst outcomes, while they pick the pockets of the sick and the dying to boost their profits. Enough! For leaders up and down the ballot who will protect patients from the greed of our profit-driven corporate healthcare industry. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Vote for your human right to be healthy and to receive quality health care when you need it. When we vote, we use our power. It is our voice. What are you going to do? Get 3 of your friends and family to do so too. Vote like your life depended on it, and those of you love, because I can tell you, it does. What are we going to do? Thank you very much.
Please welcome One Hood Social Justice Coordinator, Manny.
That's a long way to this podium. When I say people, you say power. People. Power. People. Power. When I say people, you say power. People. Power. People. Y'all sound good. I can't take credit for that chant. I'm summoning my brother Jasiri. He couldn't be here today, so you got me. My name is Manny. My name is Manny. I'm the Social Justice Coordinator for One Hood Power, and I'm a native Pittsburgher from Homewood. Yeah. I often brag to out-of-towners and transplants that Pittsburgh made the steel that built America, and I'm proud to live in that legacy as a laborer and as a worker. I've been a worker all my life. I started my masonry career at 16, and that's something that I still do, but in the light of the social injustices that we've been facing, especially in 2020 with the uprising as a result of George Floyd's murder, I've been working on behalf of the neglected, the disrespected, and the disregarded victims of the so-called criminal justice system. That's why I'm honored to be here today. I'm honored to be here in support of candidates like Summer Lee. Summer Lee stands with the workers of Pennsylvania, and I was there personally at that Starbucks in Bloomfield, singing labor songs with the labor choir when Summer Lee came and spoke in solidarity with workers seeking to unionize. She stands with poor and black and brown folks in Pennsylvania who disproportionately find themselves on the negative side of law enforcement. We need people in Washington who come from where we come from, people who recognize the injustices of our punitive legal system, people who oppose mandatory minimums, people who are committed to ending the school-to-prison pipeline, people who are committed to eliminating cash bail. What I hold in my hand is paperwork that represents 50 people that I personally posted bail for. People who had their freedoms taken away and their lives put in jeopardy in that death pit that is the Allegheny County Jail, simply because they couldn't afford to pay their ransom. That's what bail really is. It's a ransom. You know what I mean? We need people in Washington who recognize the role that cash bail plays in the larger scheme of mass incarceration and who are willing to take a stand against it. Yeah. We need people like Summer Lee, a leader, an activist, a worker, a black woman, who I believe will faithfully represent us in Washington. As I close, I want to speak to people who may be demoralized with electoral politics, people who are like me. As I look into the crowd, I got to be honest, I don't see a lot of my peers here. That's no slight to y'all. I give y'all props. But people who are like me, who come from where I come from, they have no faith in politics whatsoever. So I want to speak to them when I say that people like Summer Lee are different. They're not the run-of-the-mill politicians. They're one of us. She's one of us. And I believe wholeheartedly that she'll represent us well in Washington. There's power in our voices. And this Tuesday, make your voice heard. When I say people, you say power. People. Power. People. Power. Thank you.
Please welcome Move On Campaign Director Jen C. Ramos.
Hello, Pittsburgh, make some noise! I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm so inspired by what happens when we build collective power to co-create a world where we can all thrive. Y'all, we made history together in the last 2 elections, and we are just getting started. Pittsburgh, are you ready to keep building progressive power? Are you ready to win? Woo! So am I, because we all know what we're up against. We're up against the dangerous MAGA Republican Party that hijacked the Supreme Court and packed it with judges who overturned Roe v. Wade. Up against the MAGA Republican Party that has introduced and passed anti-LGBTQ plus legislation like the Don't Say Gay bill in my home state of Florida. Up against the MAGA Republican Party that is actively erasing and whitewashing history. And they know exactly what they're doing. Their latest all-out attacks, from banning abortion to banning trans athletes from playing sports to bans on life-saving gender-affirming care are all about taking away our bodily autonomy. And this MAGA Republican Party is hell-bent on continuing to take our rights and freedoms that so many have fought and died for away. But not on our watch. We all have to be in this together, in solidarity with Black people, Indigenous people, brown people, immigrants, people with disabilities, trans and non-binary people, poor people, and young people who have historically been marginalized and faced with structural barriers even when abortion was legal. So we have to stick together as we continue to fight for bodily autonomy and universal health care for all. This election, we're showing up for our bodily autonomy, for LGBTQ plus youth, for undocumented immigrants, for our neighbors in states that have banned abortion, for more student loan cancellation, for our planet and for each other. Look, I'm a young queer Latina, a daughter of immigrants, and an organizer who started organizing in 2016. And little did I know the 4 years that would follow would be exhausting and terrifying. But when a multiracial, multi-generational coalition of voters came together to elect a Democratic majority in the 2020 election, I felt hope for the future. Because I know we can co-create a world where everyone has a permanent roof over their heads, food in their fridge, access to clean drinking water, access to free quality health care, where everyone gets paid a living wage, gets to live free from white supremacy, and so much more. And friends, creating a world where everyone can thrive is possible when we come together and dream. So let's keep dreaming, let's keep organizing, let's keep fighting, let's keep voting, and let's win this election! Thank you, everybody!
Pittsburgh, please welcome Move On Campaign Director, Mia Senecal.
Hi, Pittsburgh. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Mia Senecal, and I'm a campaign director at Move On. My first time voting was in 2016, and the choice back then to vote against an extremist, dangerous MAGA rhetoric was clear. Now here we are, 6 years later, with not just one MAGA Republican on the ballot. We're now confronted by an alarming new wave of radicalized Republicans on the ballot this year. We've already seen the effect that their extremism has had on our communities and our democracy. But I have hope. We're all here today for one reason. We want to win on November 8th. We want Democrats to be elected up and down on the ballot in Pennsylvania and across the country. Why? Because our rights are under attack. Our freedoms are under attack. And we have one chance to defeat MAGA Republicans this November. You all know the Republicans have failed us time and time again. It's no secret that they want to continue to strip away our rights. It's no secret that they deny the impacts of the climate crisis, that they want to ban abortion, that they don't want us to say gay and live freely. So much is on the line. But remember, Democrats are fighting for us by canceling our student loans, lowering the cost of health care and prescription drugs, combating climate change and investing in clean energy, and by making billion-dollar corporations finally pay their fair share in taxes. That's why we must vote to help Democrats stay in control of the House and the Senate. We gotta protect and build upon this progress by coming together once again to vote Republicans out. We have a chance to fight back and fight for our future now, and we're going to do that by heading to the polls. But it's going to take more than us just here in Shenley Plaza. It's going to take all of us, our friends, our families, and our communities. Are you ready to win this November? At Move On, our members are working hard every day to win this election. We're calling voters, reminding our loved ones to head to the polls and spreading the word. Will you join us? Great. Here's how you can take action. Sign up to get involved now. Take out your phones. I'm watching. Take out your phones. And text Pittsburgh to 668-366. Text Pittsburgh to 668-366. I'm doing it right now with you. Okay, I see you all texting. Great. You're going to receive a reply back with 3 options on how you can get involved. Each of us who can vote can only vote once, but we can triple our impact by encouraging 3 people we know to vote. It might sound too simple to work, but it's scientifically proven because people trust people they know. It's as easy as texting your group chat. As a young person, there are times where I fear for our future, our rights, our planet, knowing that there are people in power that don't have our best interests in mind. But when we come together, I know we can elect progressive champions who will fight alongside us. I know that together we can save our planet, protect our rights, and build a country for all. So let's head to the polls and vote, fight, and win. Thanks, everyone.
Please welcome Next Gen America VP of Communications, Antonio Arellano.
How's it going, Pittsburgh? You know, I heard there's a young progressive movement brewing in the Steel City. Is that right? Well, I hope you're ready because my good friend and our special guest, Bernie Sanders, is in the building! You know, speaking before all of you today is really such an honor. My name is Antonio Arellano, and I am undocumented and unafraid. I am part of a generation of fearless immigrants who refuse to hide or be paralyzed by the intimidation and fear-mongering tactics of the far right. It's not going to happen. I was born in Guanajuato, Mexico, and my family is originally from a rural town called La Cinta in Michoacan, population 197. There's probably more people here than back home. But back home, my community has been neglected, ignored, overlooked, and that, compounded with the lack of health care and economic opportunity, drove my family to come to America in search of hope. When I arrived in the States at just 3 years old, I quickly fell in love with this nation. But I realized that that promise of justice for all and equality for all did not apply to my people. So my immigrant upbringing exposed me to the discrimination and racism communities of color have had to endure for far too long. These injustices sparked my lifelong passion to win the immigrant community the respect and the representation we deserve. In recent years, we've all witnessed how hateful rhetoric targeting immigrants can quickly turn violent. Extremist Republicans are doing everything that they can to take control because they are afraid of our collective progressive power. A powerful, multiracial, multilingual, multi-generational movement that refuses to leave anyone behind. That's who we are. Together, undocumented immigrants and our citizen allies, we're going to create change on Tuesday. For over a decade, I've been working with Black and brown communities building grassroots power, and I'm here to tell you that there are hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants like myself, DACA recipients who are connecting and engaging with our citizen allies who can vote to rise up in this moment and meet it with action. You see, I think it's about damn time Republicans come to terms with the fact that there's 11 million undocumented immigrants in America yearning to breathe free. For far too long, immigrants have been treated like a political piñata by the Republican Party, and I am here to say enough. I've got a radical proposition for our folks on the far right. How about we fix our broken immigration system for once and for all and provide a pathway to citizenship for all of our undocumented neighbors? You like that? How about we embrace diversity and stop shrinking away from the opportunity to enrich our society with the cultural contributions that migrant communities have to offer? And how about we fix our border policy and stop dehumanizing families? You know, on Tuesday, I think we need to make it clear to the Republican extremists that we're not going back to their anti-immigrant agenda of family separation, of discrimination, of harassment, abuse, and mass deportations. It's not going to happen. This election is personal for people like me who are currently temporarily protected under DACA. And it's important to remember that DACA was won as a result of fearless and tireless organizing by undocumented youth. But DACA was just a Band-Aid. We need a permanent solution, legislation that will provide a permanent protection to DACA beneficiaries. but Republicans are blocking that legislation in Congress, and now the Trumpified courts are determined to end DACA in the coming months. I just want you to know that I apologize to nobody for my immigrant background, and Republicans may try to pin the world against me, but I will never reject my culture, my heritage, or my people. You see, now is the time for bold, progressive leadership, which is why I am organizing and mobilizing across the country with Next Gen America to activate young progressive voters who are eligible to vote to go out and vote. We need action because the future has arrived, and we refuse to wait any longer to be recognized and respected. I believe we can build a nation with no discrimination. I believe we can deliver for the essential workers who kept this country running during a global pandemic. And I believe that we will win. 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 Thank you, Pittsburgh.
Please welcome to the stage climate justice organizer Anais Peterson.
Hi, everybody. I'll have to say, I know you're all here to see Bernie, not to see me. So I promise he's coming soon. Like, please hang on. But thanks y'all so much for coming out today. It's so wonderful to be here with Jens. Okay. My name is Anais. I use no pronouns. I live in Wilkinsburg, and I've been organizing for climate justice here in southwestern Pennsylvania for 7 years. Thanks to my fans in the crowd. Thanks for coming out. I organized for climate justice in southwestern PA because I know our communities deserve so much better. To me, climate justice means I don't have to worry about putting a lead filter on my sink or worry about radioactive fracking waste leaking into my drinking water source. It means we have diverse, non-extractive economies where jobs don't make us sick and massive healthcare nonprofits aren't getting rich from corporations poisoning us. It means we don't have to be afraid of just touching the Ohio River because it's full of pollution and sewage. Yeah, it's gross out there. And climate justice means here we all have access to affordable housing and fresh food in what is supposedly the most livable city in America. Climate justice means that we can all thrive here. Are y'all ready for that future? Yeah, me too. And I know people across Pennsylvania are ready to make that a reality, but it's the fossil fuel funded elected officials that are in our way. I'm organizing for climate justice because I have woken up to the smell of pollution inside my house almost every day for the past month. And I know it's only about to get worse as Shell starts up one of the largest plastic plants in the country, just upwind of Pittsburgh and Beaver County. And I should not have to constantly be thinking about leaving my home to protect my mental health and physical well-being. I'm a climate justice organizer because despite what the rankings say, Pittsburgh is unlivable, and it does not have to be this way. And I'm not going to lie to y'all, it's getting harder and harder to hype up voting nowadays. I'm sure y'all feel it as people who have been out knocking doors and making phone calls. Everyone feels like the government is made up of rich people who will always fight for the best interests of corporations, but never for us. So when we have the chance to elect people who look like our communities, who have been at the marches and the rallies and have shown up for us and shown they have our backs, we need to show up for them. And since we live in a purple state during election season, everyone is talking about how important it is to vote in Pennsylvania. People who are totally fine with calling Heinz Field Acrisure Stadium suddenly experts on what Pennsylvanians want and what we believe in. But I want to remind y'all of something. This summer, we won a fracking ban underneath Out County parks. Yeah. And that's in the heart of the Marcellus Shale. We've elected pro-clean air and water anti-fracking candidates here, and we will do it again this Tuesday. As Pennsylvanians, we decide who's a viable candidate, and we do not have to settle. We don't owe our support to candidates or to parties. They have to earn our vote. We can and should be demanding climate leadership from candidates and our elected officials. This is our opportunity to send people to D.C. and to Harrisburg who will fight for us, not the fossil fuel companies. Yeah, that's exciting, yeah. And we saw a big victory for the climate movement in Congress recently when we stopped Joe Manchin's dirty deal, which would have completely gutted our bedrock environmental permitting laws. That victory wouldn't have happened without climate leaders in Congress, but what really made that victory possible was people power. We had people from across the United States organizing together, and it was the power of people in Appalachia who have been working for decades to build the power we need to take on fossil fuel corporations and their politicians. We know that Manchin is going to keep trying, but the good news is we've killed this bill before, and we can do it again. So if you're not totally sold on voting, if you're not really sure it's going to do anything, if you just need one reason to go to the polls this Tuesday, here's your reason. We need to elect as many climate champions as possible to Congress to make sure that we block this dirty deal again and again, and every single time Joe Manchin thinks that he has enough support to introduce it. And we need to make sure that those champions know that we will hold them accountable for their votes in Congress. So, if you haven't heard, Election Day is November 8th, this Tuesday. And if you're able to go out and vote, you absolutely should. But fighting for our communities and fighting for justice does not just mean going to your polling place once every November. Voting is just one important tool in our toolbox, and the work will continue every single day after Election Day, no matter the results. So I look forward to seeing you all at the polling place on Tuesday, and at the next rally, and on the next Zoom organizing call, and giving testimony at the next public hearing, and most importantly, at the next party celebrating our climate victories. Thank you so much.
Please welcome the President and Executive Director of Next Gen America, Christina Sinsoon Ramirez.
How's everyone doing? Are we excited to hear from Bernie Sanders? Well, my name is Christina Sinsoon Ramirez, and as said, I'm the president of Next Gen America, the country's largest youth vote organization that last election helped mobilize 1 in 9 young voters across the country, leading to the largest youth voter turnout in American history. And we know the transformative power that young voters can have as the largest, the most progressive, and the most diverse generational voting bloc in our country. And we also know that despite what MAGA Republicans may say, what's best about our country, this country, is our diversity. And I know this too because I live this. My mom is the oldest of 9 kids from a poor farm-working family in southern Mexico. And my dad's a white American hippie that met her while he was living on a commune there. And as a kid growing up, my white grandpa even used to say that my siblings and I were purebred Irish Mexican Americans. And as a kid growing up, I knew there was nothing purebred about my background. But I got to see and learn something that a lot of other people don't. That it doesn't matter where you come from, the color of your skin, who you love, or how you pray. That at the end of the day, we all just want the same things. That we all just want to be safe, to be healthy, to be respected for who we are, to go to great schools and have good jobs, and then time off from those jobs to be with those that we love and do what we love. And when Bernie Sanders ran for president in 2016, he taught our entire country that wanting those basic things wasn't asking for too much. That in fact, those basic things were something that every single person and family in the richest country in the world can and should have. But it seems like a lot of Republicans running in this country only seem to believe in the power of the ultra-wealthy and the well-connected. But we believe in the power of us. And we know it's not asking too much to not only judge our economy by how well big corporations are doing, but to judge our economy by how well ordinary people are doing. And we know it isn't asking too much that every single American be able to go to the doctor when they are sick and have the highest quality health care when they need it. And we know it isn't asking too much to leave it up to women instead of politicians to decide when we are ready to make a family. And we know it isn't asking too much to transition our economy off of dirty fossil fuels that are literally killing us and build an economy of clean energy that will create millions of good jobs and leave a healthy planet for every single future generation. And that's why young people are turning out and voting in record numbers, because we know our country as at a fork in the road. One that veers towards fascism and authoritarian rule, or one where the people rule. And that's why at NextGen we don't put our hope in any single one politician or party. We put our hope in y'all, America's young people, because every time our country has made a great leap forward, it took the courage, the imagination, and the impatience of young people to make it so. So yes, we turned out in record numbers to send old Donald Trump packing in 2020, but we didn't just turn out for that. Yeah, let's cheer for sending him packing. And especially a cheer for Pennsylvania that made it happen for the rest of the country. But we're not just turning out to fight against fascism, we're turning out to fight for something, for a vision of our country that is more fair, more just, more inclusive, and for a government that will truly represent all of us. And we know that record-breaking youth voter turnout, yes, it was able to do the amazing things in 2020, but record-breaking youth voter turnout also gets you historic gun safety legislation when politicians said it couldn't be done. It also gets you student debt cancellation. It also gets you the largest investment by any single country on the entire planet to tackle the climate crisis. And it gets you long overdue reform on marijuana. And I'm pretty sure we're going to keep voting till we legalize it everywhere in this country. That's the power of the youth vote. And I know that I'm not done with the agenda that I want to see for our country, and that we're just getting started. We're not finished, are we yet, y'all? And that's why all of us are going to go vote and get every single person we know and love to vote this election. Because some people are trying to make it harder for us to vote in state after state because they know how damn powerful our vote is. Now, I live in Texas, where we make it the hardest place. You know, some people boo for Texas, but I cheer for Texas for the future that we're going to build there, because if you change Texas, you change the entire country. And our state is ranked as one of the hardest places to vote in the entire country. So last legislative session, when our officials that look nothing like our state wanted to propose more bills to make it harder to vote, we wanted to remind the young people of our state and those legislators just how powerful young people are in Texas. Because while some of you may envision my state as people like my white grandpa, who always wore a nice cowboy hat and cowboy boots, there's a lot of great white cowboys in Texas. But our state is actually majority young, brown, and black. That's who Texas is. And when Beto O'Rourke ran against Ted Cruz, he lost by about 220,000 votes. He took 71% of the youth vote in our state. And do you know how many young people of color turn 18 every year in Texas? 270,000. So while they were debating that bill, we snuck in 30 young organizers and activists filled with backpacks with 270,000 different colored rose petals. And we climbed up to the Texas Rotunda and all took position, because of course we hadn't asked permission to be there. And we waited for the signal of when we were going to toss all of these roses to just show how many of us there were. And the signal was a 19-year-old singer in a pink power suit with roses all in her hair. And she went and stood in the middle of the Texas Rotunda on the Texas Star. And then she looked up at us and started to sing as loudly and as powerfully as she could, Amazing Grace. And I cried when I was there, because then we let all the roses flow down. And we could see how many of us there were, that power that they were trying to stop. And we felt in that moment that history of those that came before us and died for our right to vote, and those that would come after us. And that day we sent a message to millions of young people across our state and to all of those politicians that we had the numbers and the power to win, and ultimately we would. And that along the way we would fight every step we could. We would fight their darkness with our light, their ugliness with our beauty, and that if you try and cut a rose bush down, it'll grow back. So let's send a message to every single one of these phony politicians that are trying to take our country backwards, that if they want to cling to the past, they can have it. But the future, that belongs to all of us. So now it's my pleasure to introduce the most popular elected official with young people across the country, a man that built a movement of millions of people that once again believed in democracy. Help me welcome to the stage a man that I truly admire, inspired me, and raise your hand if he inspired you. Welcome, Senator Bernie Sanders!
Before the point gets to us or something. I want to thank NextGen and Move On for helping to organize this event. Thank Christina for the introduction. And what those organizations understand is that if young people come out to vote in decent numbers, we're going to transform this country. In the last two elections, we saw a huge uptick in young people's votes. That's why Biden is in the White House, why Democrats control the House and the Senate. And now, more than at any other time in modern history, we have got to come out in huge numbers to tell right-wing extremists that this country belongs to all of us, not just the few. Let me tell you what this campaign is about, why we need John Fetterman in the Senate, why we need Summer Lee in the House. Number of months ago, the Supreme Court, in an incredibly stupid and ugly decision, said that women in America are not smart enough to control their own bodies. We disagree. And I want to say, in my view, the right of women to control their own bodies is not just a women's issue. Men stand behind the women. This campaign is about whether or not your generation will have a planet that is healthy and habitable in which to raise your kids and your grandchildren. We have got to have the guts to take on the greed of the fossil fuel industry and create a planet that works for all of us and not just corporate greed. And this campaign, and I never thought as a U.S. Senator I would have to say this, this campaign is also about whether or not we retain our democracy. Now, in a democracy, people disagree. That's what a democracy is about. But we cannot have former presidents like Trump lying day after day, denying the fact that he lost the election. We can't have Republicans deciding whether or not they will accept the election results. So I say to those right-wing Republicans, have the guts to respect the men and women who died defending American democracy. When you lose the election, and when you lose the election, and you will, have the courage to concede with decency and dignity. This election is about whether we continue a corrupt political system that allows billionaires to buy elections. We need to overturn Citizens United and move to public funding of elections. And this election is about our economy. You got Republicans out there right now who want to give massive tax breaks to billionaires and then cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Well, John Fetterman, Summer Lee disagree. We think that billionaires should start paying their fair share of taxes. We think we should expand Social Security, not cut it. We think we should raise the minimum wage to a living wage. We think we should make it easier for workers to join unions, not harder. We think we should join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee health care to all people as a human right. We think we should have the courage to take on the greed of the fuss of the pharmaceutical industry and lower prescription drug costs in this country. Now, right now, we also believe that in this country, we are right now in the midst of a very competitive global economy. And if we are going to succeed as a nation globally, we need to have the best educated workforce on earth. This is the richest country on earth. We should not be forcing working families to pay $15,000 on average for child care. Instead of giving tax breaks to billionaires, we should invest in public education, make sure we have the best schools in the world. We should end the absurdity of hundreds of thousands of bright young people not being able to afford a higher education or leave school deeply in debt. And that is why we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free. And I want to say this. Some people out there say, well, Bernie, that's a radical idea. And I want to say in response two things. Go to countries like Germany. Go to countries like Scandinavia. You know how much it costs to get a higher education? Go to medical school, law school in those countries. Zero! Because they are smart enough to understand we want to tap the intellectual capabilities of your generation. And we don't want to say to working class kids, low income kids, you can't afford to go to college. Second of all, 50 years ago in America, public colleges and universities were tuition free. Whoa!